If you clicked on this video, that probably means that you finished your first draft of whatever you're working on. So I'm gonna give you guys my top 5 tips for what to do once your first draft is finished. And this could be a novel, a novella, a novelette, a short story, whatever. This is the process that I've used from short stories all the way to the full length work that I've recently completed that I plan to self publish. So if you have completed something and now you're looking to find out what the next step is, first of all, congratulations to you. Shout out to you. That's what's up. And if you haven't done it yet, get back to writing and you could come back to this video later on. I'm serious. Get out of here. All right, so my first tip is to take a break. I think if you watch any video or you look anything up, if this isn't the first tip, it's gonna be, at least in the top 3. The more you work in a document and the more time you spend in your first draft, the closer you become to that material. And that does 2 things. Number 1, it kind of makes it a little bit more difficult for you as the writer to see some of the mistakes that are in there, especially if you're not reading out loud. If you're just, as you're writing, you're just trying to clean up stuff, or if you think you're a clean writer. Like, I consider myself a clean writer, but my first draft is still a mess. Everyone's is, regardless of what they say. So keep that in mind. Don't listen to anybody who says that your first draft has to be clean or your first draft has to be really good. Your first draft has to be done. All right, that's all. Your first draft just needs to get done, and then you can take steps to clean it up and make it as good as you feel it could be. Aside from just getting too close to it, the other reason why you need to kind of just step away is to just let yourself decompress a little bit and just understand that, what you just did is a big accomplishment. Whether it's a short story or a full-length novel, it's a big accomplishment to finish something like this. Writing is not easy. Writing is difficult. Writing is lonely. And I have a family. But, even though I have learned to write with people around and with noise and things like that, writing is still a lonely endeavor. So just take time away to just decompress, leave that alone. I recommend you leave your first draft alone for at least 2 to 3 weeks. I don't know if you need to go longer than that. It depends. I remember a while ago, a long time ago actually, I watched an Alexa Don video. I'll probably pull it up and play some clips of that here. But Alexa Don talked about leaving a go for months or something like that. I don't know that I'd recommend that. I don't think you should get too far away from it. But she's a lot more successful than I am, so you should probably listen to her.
I'm not going to give you hard and fast rules about how long you should wait, though I will say that longer is better. So play it by ear. How long can you possibly go without looking at or working on your book? Whatever that length of time is, do it. Generally, I recommend at least 2 weeks, but if you can double, triple, or exponentially make that a lot longer, that would be great.
But I definitely recommend you leave your first draft alone for at least a couple of weeks. Your eyes are going to be weary. You're going to be too close to it. You're going to stumble over some stuff that you wouldn't normally stumble over if you had kind of fresh eyes and you weren't so close to the first draft. So you need to take some time away to create a little bit of distance. All right, guys, so here's tip number 2. Read your first draft out loud. Once you've given yourself some distance and you're ready to come back to it and start the editing process, always read it out loud. And once you read out loud, you'll be able to see some things that you might have missed if you were reading, just in your head, because the brain will put things together like HTE. Your brain, if you're just reading in your head, your brain will put that together as even though it's incorrect on the page. Obviously, if you're working in a processor like Word, it'll, show you that, but sometimes it won't. And so always be sure to read out loud. That's actually a tip that I got from R.A. Salvatore. I've actually seen him a couple times anytime he's come near the tri-state area. He actually said this one time during a talk. And R.A. Salvatore, as you all know, he's the author of all of the Drizzt books. Drizzt is one of my favorite characters in fantasy. And I'm actually going to be making a video pretty soon on Drizzt. Now, what I do when I edit, my personal process, and I've done this for short stories and just for the full-length work that I've recently completed, I'll check for story inconsistencies. If I do see some spelling mistakes or anything like that, obviously I'll fix it. But after I come back to it, after giving it some time, I'll read it out loud and I'll just try to see if there's anything that doesn't make sense. If this character has green hair, for example, in an early chapter. Later on in the book, do they still have green hair, or did that change? Or did this person's name change, the spelling of their name? Are the character arcs still consistent throughout the book? Do they still make sense? Does the plot still make sense throughout the book? Are there any major holes that I missed during the writing process? So I just check for that stuff and I try to fix big picture problems. After that, I zero in and I just make sure my sentences are correct. I try to make sure that the structure of each of my sentences and each of my paragraphs are good. And then I just do some general copy editing. I just check for spelling inconsistencies. But again, all of this I'm reading out loud for all this, and that's at least 3 full read-throughs of my book from beginning to end. I can't tell you guys how many times I did it with this latest text. I mean, I probably read it out loud and edited it, 7 or 8 times. And I'm currently working with a professional freelance editor now, doing a final look at my work. Tip number 3 might seem a little counterintuitive, but this is something that I do, and I think it honestly helps me. But everybody's different. I'm just giving you guys my top 5 tips, but I would advise you to start something new. Now, this could be just brainstorming ideas for the next thing you're going to work on, outlining the next, text you're going to work on, or just writing, a short story or something to just keep you occupied. I know that everyone has different ideas about what's fun and what's not, what's work and what's not. I know shooting these videos, during this process here, shooting these videos, setting up my tripod and my mic and all this stuff, this is work to me. But editing is actually fun. A good friend of mine has a pretty popular ASMR channel, and he actually likes shooting the videos and all that stuff, but he hates editing. We're the exact opposite with it. Writing is much like that. I think that the writing is the fun part. The editing, the revision, that's work. This is where you really, really have to rack your brain, buckle up, and get some hard work in to make your novel as good as it could be, or to make your text as good as it could be. So what I like to do is, while I'm doing this, I'll just take some time and I'll just write something new. Either work on like a fun little short story or outline something in the future, just to keep those actual like writing muscles flexed and to just continue having fun throughout this journey. Tip number 4 is to just not be hard on yourself throughout this process. You're going to see a lot of mistakes, and each time you see a mistake, it could bring you down a little bit. Don't let it do that. You don't need to. Everyone has a bad first draft. Everybody. It's never that clean. It's never as good as you think it is. The things that you think are funny in your text might not be as funny when you read it through again. And that could just be some line editing. Maybe you just need to readjust your sentences or something like that. Just don't be hard on yourself. Know that everybody goes through this part of the process. Don't let it get you down. Just keep on trucking, okay? As they say. I don't know who says that. I don't even know why I said that, honestly. I've never said that before. I have never said keep on trucking before in my life. But just keep going. And the last tip, if you can, I would advise you to get with like a critique partner. Not family and friends, although sometimes that can be helpful. A lot of times though, your family and friends, they might coddle you a little bit. They might not want to give you like really honest or harsh advice. Even you might need it, but they might be reluctant to give that. So a stranger or like a peer or a colleague who can remain respectful yet critical is going to be your best bet. There's tons of groups like that on Reddit or on Twitter that you can find. Even here on YouTube, probably you can find some critique partners who will be willing to read your book or read your text, or do an exchange where you read theirs and offer some feedback and they read yours and give you feedback. These are my top 5 tips that I would recommend you do once you finish your first draft. Again, guys, this is just my opinion. I've only published short stories. I want to be transparent with you. I've only published short stories, and my first full-length work, I'm self-publishing. So I'm not an expert, guys. Take this with a grain of salt, but this is what I recommend. This has worked for me to this point. Maybe things will change down the road, but this is the process that I use. So I just wanted to share that with you guys, because I really do like, and I do feel comfortable giving writing advice on here. So I want to continue to do that, down the road. So if you like this video, like it, share any comments, and please subscribe to the channel if you've made it this far, and you can help a small channel like mine grow. Thanks a lot.